Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. I see my CRWC, my Central Women's group here. I see Aura members here. I see Doty London grads, and it's just such a great group, and I'm so happy that we get this time to be together. You know, as I saw the direction that the country was taking after the presidential election, I joined that April 15th, 2009 Tea Party tax protest, and our message was clear. Government's growing out of control, and spending is not only unsustainable, as they call it, but really indefensible. And when the American people were just being ignored, our representatives just on every major issue in Congress, the louder we screamed, no, 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 the more they ignored us. And as the media denigrated the Tea Party patriots, I was sure it was just a misunderstanding of our message. We hear that a lot, don't we? The messaging just isn't quite right. So I wrote a letter to Congress, and I emailed a copy of it to Glenn Beck. By some miracle, out of all the email that he gets, it caught his attention. And he read it on the radio and he interviewed me. And he read it on television and he interviewed me. And we created a petition out of that letter that more than 153,000 patriotic Americans quickly signed. Result of that, I realized that there just were no conservatives that would stand up against Ed Pastor in Congressional District 4. So I didn't come to the decision lightly, but I knew that this seat needed to be held by a principled conservative who would truly represent the hardworking American people, of which I'm one. And I knew that the pursuits of the current progressive agenda would break the financial backs of those hardworking American people, and that we had to stop it. I could see our freedoms and our standard of living being pulled right out from under us, every day with every piece of legislation. And I knew that what my grandmother told me, if you want something done right, and so I agreed to run. I lived most of my adult life just chasing the American dream. I came from good country stock. My parents were hardworking, principled people with common sense, and they taught that to my sisters and me. I married a man that immigrated from Mexico, legally. For 30 years it took him to decide to become an American citizen, and he carried that tattered green card in his wallet. And I never heard him say it was a burden or a source of shame. He knew it was a privilege to be in this country. And he carried that green card with him with pride. And I cannot imagine anyone who worked so hard to get one would ever be ashamed of it. When he decided to become a citizen, he thought long and hard about that decision. He wanted to vote in the country that had rewarded him richly with the fruits of his labor. And he had become an American in his heart. And he hadn't even realized it. It just happened over time. And he wanted his vote and his voice to be as American as everyone else's. So this is our deepest desire for our immigrant population, for them to come legally, to want to be one of us, and to join in our society, in our American, and be part of that American dream. So we raised a family, we worked, we sacrificed, saved money to put a couple kids through college. Nothing fancy, just good old middle American life, stressing about car payments and mortgages and trying to reach old age with some kind of sense left intact. And you know, every line on my face, I learned it honestly. Sometimes I hope that it gives me a little bit of credibility in where I'm going. But mostly I've been blessed to live a typical middle-class life in a country I love, and always proud that I'm one of her natural-born citizens. I know what a blessing that is. And I've seen my share of political storms over the years, having lived through the presidencies of JFK and Johnson and Nixon and Carter and Clinton. And I especially remember during the Carter years, my father saying to me, there's going to come a time when we'll sit in our living rooms with our shotguns across our knees. And I thought, geez, Dad. But he knew his Bible and he'd read the end of the book. And so he believed that this would come one day. But I've watched my country change, sometimes better, sometimes worse. Ronald Reagan was put in office for one reason, and that was to clean house. But he did more than that. He pushed back against communism in the world, and he held back the progression of socialism in this country. And he gave us a strategy, but we don't have him to lead us anymore. We have to lead. When the wall fell in Berlin, we let our guard down. We thought that the threat of socialism fell with it. But we see today it's alive and well and threatening our American way of life. My district has been written off for loss to progressive politics because it's so heavily Hispanic and therefore heavily Democrat. We've been deemed not worth the effort by the political powers because the fight cannot be won. Really? Does that sound like the America we know and love? We don't quit this way. We don't run from a fight. We may be heavily Hispanic and we may be heavily registered Democrat, but we're not heavily socialist. This onslaught we're facing is not a problem in the Democratic Party. The progressives have infiltrated all the parties. The socialist ideology is what we're fighting against. And you can count on a good number of Hispanics, and even Democrats for that matter, to fight against it with us. The Hispanic culture is not socialistic. It's self-sufficient. It's God-loving, family-oriented, hard-working, and downright conservative in its values. I learned as much about my strength and integrity from my Hispanic family and my marriage in the second half of my life as I did in my childhood from my parents. It was the second part of my education. Oddly enough, the one that put all these lines on my face, but I think that time just took its toll. But we're running out of time. We find ourselves in a unique situation in our state and right here in our county because of the agenda being pushed by Obama and Pelosi and rubber stamped by Ed Pastor. The tides are turning. The Tea Party has rejuvenated American patriotism. Many Democrats and independents are questioning the direction of Washington right along with us Republicans. The tough common sense views of the American people have become unified against the progressive agenda. And suddenly there's an opportunity to take back our country. I need your support. I need your voice to spread the word. And I also need financial support. I've run a very frugal campaign, and I've spent more of my own money than anyone else's, believe me. I've taken a leave of absence from my job, and I've literally pledged my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to God and country to be in this fight. It's not easy for me to ask you to do the same. I know these are difficult times, but I have to tell you, you'll part with your money and your opportunity to regain it will be destroyed. The progressives intend to spread your wealth all over this globe, to destroy the free enterprise system in this country. And they will take it from you if you do not send conservative voices to Congress to stop them. turn our lives inside out to go to Washington and protect and restore the founding principles of this country need to count on you to stand shoulder to shoulder with us and send a new Arizona voice to Washington and pick up the fight right in the footsteps of Ronald Reagan. I believe in the principles of individual freedom and personal responsibility. On these rests every good public policy that's created. They're the basis of the American spirit. They're the basis of a free America of exceptionalism and prosperity. And I need your overwhelming support on November 2nd to stop this destructive agenda. A vote for Janet Contreras is a vote to restore honor to government and honesty in public service. America is counting on you to choose wisely. Thank you.